So for my Journal 5 for Sociology 225, I decided to volunteer at my local high school that I graduated from, and they did a simulation of money ran by the State Employees Credit Union that my dad works for. The activity that they did was called The Reality of Money, and this is the flyer. I wasn't able to film there just for student privacy reasons, so this is the flyer. Again, it's called The Reality of Money, and it gives the students a peek into what adult life will be like. As of now in high school, most of them don't have to worry about jobs. They don't have to pay for much of anything. So this is a simulation that gives them a sheet of paper, and the sheet of paper gives them a job that they have, if they have good or bad credit, if they're married or single, or if they have children. So after they get their paper, they go to each station, and the stations are here on this piece of paper as well. So I'm just going to kind of go through these stations that each of the children went through to understand the activity. So the first, or a station they could have gone to, is housing. So as they go through each station, we're volunteers that are sitting there. So I was at a station, and you look at their piece of paper, you see what their situation is, how much money they make a month, because that is also on the paper. And you help them by giving them options of what kind of housing or transportation they can afford and what they would rather do. So for housing, it just included an expense for a house or rental payment, homeowner insurance, property taxes and utilities, and all of the good stuff like that. But you can only choose to rent or buy a home if you had good credit. So unfortunately, some of these kids were kind of put in a pickle because they didn't have the best credit. The next station they could go to is transportation. So that just includes expenses for payment, insurance, gas, and miscellaneous costs that come along with having a car. Most of these kids don't really understand that either. They thought it was kind of crazy how much it could be to take care of a car, but reality is in a few years that'll be them. They'll have to pay for a lot of that stuff. Another station was groceries, and that's pretty self-explanatory. They had different options of how many groceries they wanted to buy, such as if they just needed like $50 worth of groceries and it was all off-brand, or if they wanted the option that gave them all of the higher brand, better tasting option of groceries. They had a communication station that they had an option of basic, average, or high-speed bundle of services, so that's pretty self-explanatory. They had a clothing option. A lot of the kids kind of struggled here because as of now, they all wear or most of them could wear the name brands that they wanted. They had, whatever kind of clothes they wanted until they realized when they got to the station they had to budget their money because you can't blow $400 on clothes a month like they think they can. So a lot of them kind of got a slap in the face here, unfortunately. Another one that not all the kids had to go to, it all depended on what their assimilations, what they were given as their title or what their situation was childcare. A lot of them realized that childcare is not cheap. It is not $50 a week for somebody to watch your kid all week. A lot of them had to drop $400 for childcare, and most of them had more than one child. So that was kind of a reality check on that this could be something that you could have to deal with. There was a healthcare insurance station. It included premiums and a list of various healthcare situations that could come up. So they had the choice of which one they wanted to do there. They had an entertainment station. That's the one I worked at. So they had 3 different options. They had the basic entertainment, which was just a lot of, kind of meals like cookout, pizzas, and like high school football games. They had a medium entertainment package, which included most of the same things as the first option, but they did get some money towards the vacation. And the last option was the costly option, and they got quite a bit of money towards the vacation at the end of the year. So as much as all of us love to take vacations, it's not always in our plan or something that we can afford to do every month. There was also a credit card station. Each of them had to pick a card that in a way gave them what their credit was. So each of them had to go to the credit card station, and they either got good credit or bad credit. The last 4, they had a help station. So if any of these kids going through the auditorium realized that they had ran out of money, they went to the help station. They could either choose to get a part-time job, or they could choose to go back to other stations where they may have chosen like a higher entertainment or a lot for groceries. They had the option to pull back on those. and to get a smaller option or the more thrifty option, so that way they could afford something else. There's also a dollars and cents station. It's an abstract station where they were able to gain up to $50 deposit into their savings account. And then there was a stuff happens. This one wasn't really a station. It was more of, we had volunteers walking around, because you don't go to a stuff happens station. Stuff happens when you least expect it. So we had volunteers walking around, and they would hand the kids a card out of nowhere, and then that was either a deduction because their tire blew, or the kid needed the doctor, or it was a positive reinforcement of, hey, like, you mowed the lawn for your grandma, so here's $50. So it could go either way, but stuff does happen, so they had to realize that. And their very last station was called the Next Payday Station. That was the last station each kid went to. So the students were, they would take their papers to these volunteers at the Next Payday Station, and the volunteers would review their work, and then they would, if the kids did have a positive balance, they would ask them what they chose to do with that money afterwards. And then they would suggest they would deposit that into their savings account, what they had left, because they also taught them as, if they deposited money into their savings account, the interest would help that account grow more than what it was. So eventually they would have quite a bit more money in there than they started off with. So overall, I really enjoyed the reality of money volunteering that the State Employees Credit Union put on. It was really great for the students to kind of learn that they may be in high school, but in a few years this is going to be their reality. And to tie this back in to the framework essay, I loved what Miles Horton said. He said that we make the road by walking, which also conveyed that the road has not already been built. Although there are many helpful resources, you will not find a recipe book designed for all the situations you will face, nor would that necessarily be a good idea. I love that, because these kids realize that it's not all put out for them. It's not a step-by-step way of what you need to do with your life, that things can happen. So it was great to help these kids learn what might happen in their adult life. Thank you.